So very good afternoon to everyone. I think let me start, if you can quickly introduce yourself, maybe a couple of minutes, Anurag, Pranav.
Good morning, guys. I'm Pranav Malhotra, founder and CEO at TruNativ. We are a company looking to simplify nutrition for the households of the country, backed by Mami Group and Zerodha Nitin Kamath. The basic idea for us too is to build nutrition solutions which handhold Indian consumers and fairly ignored Indian consumers of the household, which are looking to make a difference in their daily lives with smaller changes. And we have a range of sugar replacers, proteins, fibers, etc. And I believe this is a great time for the country to move towards progressive habits, and there is where TruNativ complements and helps you achieve that journey with the right fit of nutrition products for you.
Hi, my name is Anurag Kedia. I am the co-founder of Pilgrim. Pilgrim offers international beauty ingredients, international beauty trends, international beauty rituals to the Indian audience, makes it accessible and affordable. Thank you.
Right, so I think wellness as a category has evolved over a period of time, and we see that there is a consumer appetite now to actually spend money on wellness, right? From a logistics perspective, right, specifically last mile perspective, what is it that kind of gives you a sleepless night, right? Or what is it kind of makes you feel excited in the morning? If you can just help us understand that.
I think it's a boon and a bane both. The consumer in today's time is extremely pampered. He wants to have everything possible in the shortest period of time at the best prices. And I believe while it's a challenge for the brand, I think it's evolving consumer persona for the country, and brands have to do their best to match up the expectations. But with regards to last mile, I believe we have seen a sharp shift in the consumption behavior with regards to the timelines of delivery that one should be able to deliver in. And I believe that remains as one of the most important factors for brands like us, because a lot of the first acquisitions are basically on impulse purchases as well, right? Believe it or not. We do definitely push the consumer to try it out, and if you don't reach it or reach the destination at a particular timeline, I think the chances of him losing interest in a product is much higher. That is where quick commerce also booming as a category, and I believe that it's extremely key while to acquire, but also to provide the right consumer experience and reaching them in the safe time wherein the curiosity is still alive. So I think extremely important for us, and we've been doing a fair bit of job. We do reach all pin codes, most of the pin codes in the country within 48 hours of order placing, and I think as consumer evolution begins, we'll have to tighten our strings to further improve that with models such as quick commerce, etc. Yep.
To my mind, there are two competing goals which are there. One is to be able to do faster and faster deliveries. Earlier, the benchmark was set by Amazon and Flipkart saying, next day delivery, then it became same day delivery. And now with quick commerce moving the needle further with saying, 10 minutes delivery. And like Pranav was saying, I think the consumers are getting used to this kind of delivery models. So how do you continuously upgrade your systems, your processes, your warehousing to be able to do faster and faster deliveries for more and more pin codes? And the second is, how do you balance cost? Because these deliveries come at a cost, and these are two competing goals. If you want higher service levels, costs go up. So you have to keep the cost in check and still manage better timelines. And then the standard, since you're asking about what gives us sleepless nights, I think RTOs continue to be an issue for the entire industry. While at Pilgrim, we see one of the lowest RTOs across the category. But how do you continuously, reduce RTO, pin code wise, customer wise, partner wise? That's what I think. These are the 2-3 top things which come to my mind.
Right. I think since there's a broader ecosystem at play in order to ensure that you kind of balance the service level and costs, how have you actually managed the entire challenges around integration, around visibility, around agility, responsiveness? Because I think those become a very important criteria to manage the service level versus cost balance. How do you actually go about doing that? There's some best practices you want to share.
I think my take on this D2C charter and D2C growth has been evolving every year. Earlier it was all about acquiring, and I think now it is all about retaining the pool that you have been able to acquire. And that comes along the level of service. I always believe that you need to stop considering the purchaser, he's a real human, he's not a bot who's bought, right? So the level expectation that you may have for your own consumption or purchase journey is what you need to provide to the consumers as well. And that's when you're able to create a long-term value with their entire, household in our case, because we sell to average 2 to 3 members in a household with the variety of products that we are pushing out. But I still, I'm a big believer of the fact that consumer experience needs more focus than acquisition of consumer. We have seen a large trajectory of brands acquiring fast and possibly not seeing repeat purchases. And I think delivery timelines are a huge part to play in terms of consumer experience and, everything around it as well, right? Like Anurag ji mentioned, the costs around it are also something that we need to monitor. And, that is a process-driven thing that has to be thought through. And, D2C businesses are not surface level anymore. Yeah? There are so many tech integrations around it. There are so many options you could opt for, so many customizations around it that you definitely need to be more detail oriented, right? You have to definitely put in your mind and not just list the product online and expect the consumer will buy. He may buy for the first time, but if you want him to come back to your store, I think he's expecting the best out of you, and definitely balancing cost is a huge portion. In our case, we've been in slightly luckier format because our AOVs are not of 2000. Nutrition products are something that are on the expensive side in respect to personal care. So we are able to squeeze some of the bottom line even after spending prices on air shipment, right? We prefer air shipment for a reason because in a nutrition journey, typically it's very impulse motivated, right? आज सोच लिया कि मुझे कल से healthy होना है, but परसों protein आ जाना चाहिए, 7 दिन बाद healthy नहीं होना है मुझे, right? So I think we have to definitely optimize for those things, and it's an ever-changing journey, right? In my journey of building this business, every time I'm on the stage every year, I think I have new things to say, and I think it is the evolution that keeps the brand going. And definitely, to answer in summary, I think it's being detail-oriented or putting your mind to smallest of the smallest experiences the consumer is able to have.
I think tech plays a very important role here, and the good thing is that the tech has evolved and it's in a very, very good shape right now. So 5 years back, day one, we decided to have a WMS, an inventory management system. However, we did not end up utilizing all the features they were offering. The fact, personal care has a 2 to 3 year shelf life. So we didn't opt, while the product offered, that it could capture the expiry dates and the manufacturing date and the batch coding, we didn't capture it because we never thought it was something which is going to be a problem for us. So like I always say, the appreciation for supply chain is like, when you have a headache, you realize you have a head. So the appreciation for supply chain comes when it's broken. When things are working fine, and that's been our journey, for the first couple of years when you are young as an organization, everybody knows everything. How critical supply chain is for scale up of an organization is often misunderstood or not underappreciated. And this is something my own appreciation of supply chain has kept going up every quarter, every year. Tech stack is very, very important, identifying your tech partners and using their capabilities, learning from their experiences. So, whether it is a WMS, whether it is your notification system. So we work with 𝐤𝐳𝐶om for our, inventory management and WMS. Then we work with ClickPost, which is also, I think, around here for our notification system, how the consumer journeys pan out. Integrating all of these capabilities, all of this tech stack as early as possible and learning from their experiences, because we could be young as an organization, but they have been around and they're working across categories, across brands. So they have multiple learnings which we can take from them to try and deliver an experience which the customers would like us to.
Right. So I think very interesting thing you mentioned, right, about quick commerce earlier, right, and the entire advent and how customer expectation or consumer expectations around deliveries, expecting deliveries in 10 minutes, right? I think that's here to stay. I think post-COVID, all of us have got used to it, right? How has that impacted you from again, a supply chain logistics perspective? How are you geared up to ensure that, right? Especially, I think, as a category, possibly you can afford, certain costs because, generally wellness as a category is considered to be premium, right? But at the end of the day, it's a cost, right? So how are you geared up to actually kind of cater to that kind of consumer demand coming in, right? Especially, from a D2C perspective, right? Where, you either compete with the platforms, right? And then you're listed on the platforms and then you rely on the platform to fulfill your order versus your own website, right? Kind of customer expecting that through my own channel, I am able to fulfill. So what's your thought process around that? How are you overcoming some of those so-called evolving consumer trends which are coming your way?
So I think each channel has its own role. And we have to play on the strengths of the channel and what the channel has to offer. So quick commerce basically offers you, obviously quick deliveries, convenience, all of those, but they can't carry the entire catalog. So a brand like us currently has like 190 SKUs, probably another 6 months will be at 250 SKUs. Quick commerce does not offer us the luxury of carrying the entire catalog with them across all the dark stores. They carry 20, 30, and that's a tussle which is continuously happening because we are saying carry a little more, they are saying, dark store has only so much space. And hence, the bestsellers will go into quick commerce, but for consumers who would like to see the entire catalog, who would want to understand the brand narrative, who would want to know every detail about the product, all of those things can be done through our website or some of the, vertical marketplaces or a horizontal like an Amazon, Flipkart. So each channel will offer its own benefits. In terms of our own timelines, we managed to do same-day deliveries in the metros, next-day deliveries in large part of the country, and then the timelines keep on increasing the more further you go into the remote areas. Like a Northeast, Ankur, we were discussing, we take 3 to 5 days in many states of the Northeast. We would want to service faster, but the current setup does not allow us to, and the costs become a little prohibitive. We have no aspiration to deliver in 10 minutes or half an hour through our website. Our aspiration is there to reach same-day delivery and next-day delivery to the extent possible. But we definitely partner with all the large quick com players to try and enable the 10-15 minute delivery for a smaller catalog.
I think I remain very excited for the entire evolution of quick commerce in the industry. We've been lucky to have Mr. Jitendra Nagpal, who is CFO of Zepto, as our board advisor as well. So I get to somewhere learn a lot of experience around how there is quick commerce which is showing in signs of evolution. I think until a few years ago, I felt that I may not want to pay that incremental price to a quick commerce company to deliver faster, but I think it's so ingrained in our system at this point of time that I see about 2 to 3 Blinkits coming to my house every day, right? It's become such a necessity, to be honest. Earlier, we had a purchase trend of going to the supermarket, buying for the month and coming back. And, I think now, probably you're not buying for the month, but you're buying for the day, right? 𝐤𝐳𝐸 𝐾𝐜 𝐒𝐿. And that luxury they have been able to provide, which is attracting consumers to stay sticky on the platform as well. For us at TruNativ, since day one of the company, we've always iterated that we are not a D2C brand alone. D2C is one of the channels we tend to operate on. Right? We have revenue streams coming in from Horeca's B2B2C partnerships. We recently launched a protein project with the Whole Truth. The protein powder project is a collaboration with TruNativ. So in fact, we are launching sugar replacers with 𝐸𝐴, Third Wave Coffee, a bunch of these guys now. So for us, D2C is a channel, and I feel quick commerce has added steam in terms of user experience deliveries for us, and I would treat it like just another revenue stream. Like Sir mentioned, I think very finicky on how many products they want to carry. They probably would not carry the whole assortment around it. So consumers would have to probably look at your long tail such as Amazon and your D2C websites for the entire experience around it. But I feel bestsellers and products which have larger throughputs will do a great job on quick commerce, and I remain extremely bullish on how this is panning out. And with the profits that we are seeing with Blinkit posting, I think this is a great kind of a structure that the companies have managed to build. In fact, what is exciting to me is that in the West as well, right, having traveled to Europe, etc., I don't think you have this luxury out there. To get something to eat, probably you have to wait 2 hours, right? I think India is really pushing fast and catapulting in terms of consumer experience, and big regards to innovators, right, with like the Zeptos and the Blinkits of the world, because they dared to dream and execute something that was not against their, entire operational efficiency, but I think they have seen substantial success. And for brands like us, it is definitely a very important revenue stream which we want to continue to focus on, like the key accounts that we have.
Right. I think very interesting point you made around today when we talk about last mile. I think a lot of focus is there on metro and tier one cities, right? But the brands have proliferated even tier two, tier three cities. In fact, some of the small towns, I think given that people have now exposure to what brands are available online, right? Do you see that as a challenging aspect for you from a tier two, tier three city perspective? How have you kind of overcome that as a challenge?
I think that is not a challenge. That's a lovely thing for us, in fact, because your audiences, which was not unlocked earlier, is now able to aspire and wanting to purchase the same product that a tier one consumer is using. Earlier, the purchase behavior was that I would probably go to a supermarket or a large store or a large format store and pick it up when I discover the brand there. But a tier three city also discovering my performance ad online and wanting to aspire to be at the same level is
And
excellent news for us, right? Brands like us unlock a whole new ecosystem around it. And I believe consumer stories in India are always built on aspiration, in my opinion, right? Whenever you buy something, you always want to look up, right? That is the difference we see in a Kingfisher and a Bira, or a normal headphone or a boat headphone, right? Aspiration is all around it, and tier 2, tier 3 cities are able to aspire better, and their purchase journey, in fact, is evolved so much that they have everything possible they would need at a click, right? And this is a great thing to have to an ecosystem. You are
I,
enabling the consumer with
I
that.
think my question was more from aspiration on products, yes, aspiration on service. So do you see them actually expecting that, okay, if my counterpart in a metro is getting the product same day or in 10 minutes on quick commerce, you see that kind of aspiration even in tier 2, tier 3 cities? And do you think that from a last mile perspective, since we're talking about optimizing last mile, and that consumer segment kind of picking up, right, as you rightly said, they're as aspirational as anyone can be, right? So specifically from a last mile perspective, do you think that's a challenge? And
I think the luxury over there is that the quick commerce guys have not entered, right? So they have not pampered the customer to that extent yet. But I think Anurag ji would be able to emphasize on this more because he's really created the ecosystem in terms of going deeper into these tier twos as well, while we are still on the more urban side of the business. Because nutrition is a more AOV based or an informed choice in terms of nutrition, and awareness of nutrition is still, I would not say at its best in the tier threes. So I feel that they are still of the opinion that, okay, as long as the product is reaching in the next 2-3 days, I'm fine with it. But it's not too long until dark stores come through there. So we have some time to save our grace there.
it was very interesting because you had very recently a social media influencer on the wellness space actually being promoted by the Prime Minister himself, and he actually came from, tier 2, tier 3 cities. So at least the way I see it is that there's going to be an explosion of demand coming in from there, and therefore the expectation around service levels, even to some of the towns, right? Like, for example, it could be Aurangabad, it could be Nasik, it could be any other city. I think that's where a lot of demands will come in. While we can say that on the last mile, at metros and maybe tier 1 cities, we've kind of optimized a bit, but those are the challenges which might come our way in the future. Anurag, your views on that?
So I think, it depends on what we're defining as tier 2, tier 3. To my mind, Aurangabad, Nashik are clearly tier 1. And there we are, anything above the population of a couple of lakhs is tier 1 to us. And there we are able to typically deliver within 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. However, yes, smaller towns than those continue to be a challenge. But like Pranav was saying, they have not been pampered yet by the quick commerce guys. And when they reach there, we'll reach with them. So D2C may not always compete, and I think it's important to set the right expectations. So which is why, a good notification system that when an order has been placed, even before the order has been placed, if you have, basis the pin code, if you have informed the consumer, and it's interesting because Pranav keeps saying he, and for us it's always then she. While the he may be using, it's because the she has bought that the he is using, right? So we try and enable it on our website that you enter the pin code and we'll give you an estimated time, delivery time, and then we try and beat that. So if our estimated delivery time is actually 2 days, we'll commit to 2.5. Because if you have committed 2 and then delivered 2.5, it's a nightmare. In fact, we have had consumers that they have placed an order and exactly after 30 minutes, they're pinging our customer support saying, where is my order? So that behavior is there, but we try and set expectations a little more realistically and take care of it.
Going a little off topic, I really love the energy that Internet Unlock has brought to the ecosystem. It's tremendous, right? The access of internet going into these towns and deeper towns And the democratization of using internet, I think we are the cheapest per GB in the carrier in the world, to be honest. And that has not just created a consumption economy, but a creator economy. And so much of that is happening because now you're connected through something, right? Probably you do not have adequate energy or supplies in your village, but you do have data right now, which is helping India reach its full potential. I am a big believer of that story.
Right. So we've just run out of time. I think we had many more questions to ask, but since we've run out of time, we'll call it a day over here.